The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hi, my name is Leo Connors, and welcome to The Ring and All Other Sports. Tonight, I got a very special guest, Atlantic Pro Wrestling's Michael Morse, for the fifth time,
yeah.
You were on just recently, but I know you have a great announcement to make about APW. The floor's yours, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. The big announcement that I wanted to make was at our last show, I actually stripped Little Mean Kathleen of the women's title. So on January 22nd in Newburyport, Massachusetts, we are going to have a one-night tournament, all female.
Oh, wow.
It's a 100% all-female card, one-night tournament to crown a new Atlantic Pro Wrestling Women's Champion.
Wow.
So that's phase one of some changes that are coming in 2022.
Now, I would imagine that your women regulars will be in that tournament, right? Like Widow Belmont,
absolutely,
Vanity Vixen.
Yep. The match that we're having this coming on November 13th at Three's a Crowd, which is a unique thing that I felt was pretty cool, where every single match on the card is a triple threat match.
Yeah.
So the winner of Little Mean Kathleen, Corrine Mink, and Vanity Vixen will actually receive a bye into the second round of the tournament. But the others, our normal Jen or Vanity Vixen, Belmont, they'll all be in the tournament.
So you said Lady Frost?
No, Corrine Mink.
Corrine Mink. Okay. I've seen her before. She's really good.
Yeah, her husband's a part of the Hispanic mechanics who are coming in as part of the triple threat match that involves the tag team title. So
nice. Excellent. Looking forward to that. As I'm at all the APW shows, come over and say hi at the concessions. Let's get into fan questions, because I got a lot of them, and then we're just going to talk wrestling. All kinds of things I got written down.
That works for me. I mean, I saw some of the fan questions. I didn't read them all.
Right.
But, I know some were put on my posts. I sent them to you. So, let's go through it.
So Stacy Russell wants to know, Michael, seeing you seem to really love wrestling and have been such an important part in helping APW grow, why haven't you ever thought about wrestling yourself? Or have you?
I have. I actually took a few bumps,
nice.
And got a concussion on bump number 3. So at that point, I realized, I'm 46 years old. Now I'm 48. But in this sport, you never say never. It could be a street fight. It could just be me hitting someone. You never know. But the plans right now are for me to just stay in my role and making all the decisions and making people's lives miserable at times.
Well, I got to ask you this, because I've never taken a bump, and I don't ever plan on taking a bump. But I always thought that the hardest thing must be like when they tell you to tuck your chin all the time, to remember to tuck your chin when you fall. It's got to be hard.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what I found hard. I did it the first time and the second time, and then, I tried a little bit harder, and it was all done. I mean, people have told me, many people have told me, we learn our entire life. We live our entire life learning not to fall.
Right.
To become a professional wrestler, you have to untrain yourself and learn how to fall.
Yeah.
So, just not for me.
I hear you. Me either. Thank you, Stacia, for the question. Andy Miller's got a couple questions. Will APW be using Fight for shows each month again?
We will not.
Okay.
We are. I just decided that what goes into the production of Fight Network is too stressful and too time consuming.
Okay, great. And he also wants to know, who were your favorite wrestlers growing up?
My favorite wrestlers growing up were everybody's favorite. Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
In the 90s, when my daughter Gabrielle was growing up, 96, 97, 98, as she was 1, 2, 3, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, everybody's favorites.
Oh, yeah. All right.
But my very first favorite wrestler was Hulk Hogan.
Nice.
So.
All right. Yeah. Zach Zabzow. Do you know Zach?
Yeah, Zach's actually training up at Bud Browning.
The New Generation Pro Wrestling.
Next Gen, yep.
Excellent.
He's one of the students up there. He's been on Ring Crew the last few months. So.
Oh, excellent. Okay. Yeah, well, he says, Mike, any plans to bring APW to New Hampshire, Maine? Before you answer that, there's a lot of people that would love it, too. Dan Bolio, for one, would love for you to come to New Hampshire. Damon Farr, everybody. I live in New Hampshire.
I live in New Hampshire too.
Yeah.
Be easier for me.
Right? So what do you think?
So yes, I mean, the problem with New Hampshire is it's tough because a lot of the places don't have like Elks Lodges in New Hampshire don't have halls that are ceiling height. Like I looked at a couple in the area of where I live and the ceiling height was 9 feet. Can't do 9 feet, even with our low ring.
Yeah.
Ceilings needs to be at least 10 or 11 feet for us to do anything safely. But then you get into the bigger venues like the one we did during the pandemic in October. That just gets too costly because they don't have the seating. So will I look into spots like boys and girls clubs or elementary schools? Yeah, definitely. I mean, I right now there's no plans.
Right.
We had planned to go to Maine, but we've kind of pulled away from that.
Okay.
But so yeah, my plans are to kind of split Mass, New Hampshire. I want to do equal shows in each state. Just don't know when that will be.
Right. Well, just to let you know, I have an in at the schools. I work for the city. I work for the school department. And also the Boys and Girls Club in Nashua has run shows there before. Chikawa ran there. And I think a few other, I think Chaotic might have even ran one show there, but just so you know.
Okay.
All right. So he also followed up with it. I think he really wants you to have a show around here, man. If so, where would the town place you would likely go to? There hasn't been much pro wrestling in New Hampshire since Bradley's WFA or Costa's AWA. I like to look at APW as WFA's long-lost brother and would love to have them in the Granite State on a regular basis. Thank you.
If we were to do regular basis in New Hampshire, I would look at the border cities like a Nashua or a Seabrook.
Yep.
Some place that we can draw in some Massachusetts people. I know a lot of people will travel.
Right.
You know, regulars will travel. But you know, it's, you know, you have Lowell over the city line in Nashua. You know, in Seabrook, you have Salisbury, Amesbury, where we draw in Newburyport, and so it's not too far.
Yep.
So that's what I would look at as like a border city. I mean, if I were able to get a good spot in Manchester, I would definitely do it in Manchester as an opportunity.
Okay.
And believe it or not, there's actually a place in Hampstead that I've looked at, the old Hampstead Memorial Gym. Okay. It actually has a setup kind of like the PAL, the Police Athletic League, that front row or top rope wrestles with the upper deck.
Wow.
So I've looked into that building. Okay. It's with them, it's tough because that's a historical building. So they don't want people coming in and breaking it.
Okay. Thanks, Zach, for the questions. Todd Prost wants to know, Michael, how do you feel about Joe Moakley outside the ring and working with him as a co-owner? And you must have some issues with him because he's not a very nice guy when he comes out to the ring.
Right. Yeah.
He's like a jerk.
He is. But that's the thing with Joe, is that Joe does have two different switches. So the Joe Moakley that's out in front of the fans is the performer Joe Moakley.
Right.
The Joe Moakley that I work with, for the most part, we're on the same page. We have the same vision for the company. But, you know, we do butt heads on, you know, maybe a way that I feel a storyline needs to go as opposed to him. He has the drama background.
Yeah.
So I kind of, in some situations, acquiesce to him. But, you know, we get along fine, or I don't think it would have worked over the last 3 years.
Right.
You know, in this business, you know, you get worn down pretty quickly. And I would have probably just walked away if there wasn't some sort of friendship on the outside of the performance piece.
Okay. Great. Thanks, Todd. APW's biggest fan, Anthony Mark Balkus. At least he's one of them. If he's not the biggest, he's one of them. What APW show this year so far was most memorable for you?
For me, I would say it's going to be a tough one. I would probably say, believe it or not, the April show. The first show out of the gate when we came back.
Right.
After the pandemic on April 17th, it was, you know, place was sold out.
Yep.
The performers were raring to get back in the ring. The staff was raring to go, and we went out and so I think for me, that's the most memorable show. Was it the most smooth show that we've put on this year? Probably not.
Right.
But it's the most memorable for me because it was, other than the October show, it was the first real show we were back in our home.
Right.
The Newburyport Elks, in over a year.
Yeah.
So that was the most.
And the
wonderful
fans
thing.
were rabid that night. They couldn't wait for the matches to start. Because I
exactly.
remember getting to the building and they were all outside like an hour and a half before you even
we
opened the doors.
every month they're outside an hour and a half before we even open doors. So
it's pretty amazing. Would you ever consider doing a women's tag team titles in APW? Another question from AMB, Anthony Mark Balkas.
You know, it's not out of the realm of possibility. I just don't see it happening anytime soon. Because one, you have to kind of build the division,
right?
And we have a lot of women, a lot of ladies that cycle in and cycle out. But you know, a lot of those ladies are starting to get booked. You know, and they're busy all the time.
Yeah.
So unless I could get a team or multiple teams to agree to work several months in a row, it just doesn't make sense to add a new title.
But I will say this, there's more women wrestling now locally than ever.
Yeah,
there really has been. I mean, there's a lot of great young women talent out there. Thank you, Anthony Mark Balkas. Mav, he still wants to know if he's still allowed to, God, Mav, you and your big words. Erroneously tag someone else in a post when I'm trying to tag them. Did I mess up that word?
Erroneously?
Thank you.
I don't even understand the question.
Say, Mav, what are you doing to us over here? Love you, Mav. All right. Dave Fournier. I'm going to put these two together. It's because it's Damon Farah asking this kind of and Dave Fournier. All right. I'm going to read them both real quick. Dave Fournier, while I love the shows in Newburyport, the crowds keep growing. Will we see APW move to a larger building? Damon Farah, have you thought of adding venues and running shows more often? I've noticed a couple of promotions have added more locations and have done well. The McCarthy School in Peabody has not been used for shows since Liberty States Wrestling folded. Great venue, very roomy, and if you add a few shows a year there, you could probably run every 3 weeks or so combined. These guys want you to run a lot more shows.
Believe it or not, we actually discussed running every 3 weeks.
Right.
The issue with that is that, you know, we have children, we have families. Right. You know, once a month is hard.
Right.
You know, it's not hard. It's takes you away from your family, and it's the whole day.
Right.
And then for me, being older and my knees being shot, even you know, with everything that I was doing to lose weight and all that, but I'm wrecked the next day.
Right.
Like I get up, I take my wife to breakfast, I go grocery shopping, and then we go home and we pick something on Netflix, and that's what we do all day.
Yeah.
So to answer the thing, yes, I'm looking for more buildings because I agree. Newburyport is awesome. It's our home. It will always be the home of APW. Right. But I think we need to get our product out there to other towns or other cities. And it's funny because before the pandemic hit, we had actually reached out to McCarthy Elementary School, and we had been working to potentially do shows there. And I've just recently reached back out to them, and I reached out to another promotion, Todd Graham, Proven Ground, because he runs Peabody.
Todd's
Beverly.
a great guy. Love Todd.
Todd and I have done business before.
Yep.
We still talk, you know, not as much as we used to.
Right.
Because we're both busy running our companies. But I reached out to him and said, hey, if I get this building, do you mind if I run in Peabody? Right. You know, out of respect.
Yeah.
Some people would just be like,
that's the way to do things.
Right. So we've come to the understanding that as long as I don't run on the same day as him, whether he's in Beverly or Peabody, right? And we've done pretty good. I'm pretty open. Like I have all my dates for 2022. Right. Every day that we're going to have a show, it'll actually be posted before November 13th. But every month I have my building booked already.
Nice.
And I've sent that list to Todd.
Yep.
I've sent that list to Chris Sullivan at Lucky Pro. I would, you know, I don't send it to the companies that run on Friday nights, right? Because they don't affect me.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, luckily we were able to work out because the thing with New England is it's so saturated. Yep. It's tough to not see somebody this week on my show and go to NCW next week and see them on that show. What I love, as Ryan Drew's been pushing for, what I love to see exclusive contracts. Yeah, I don't have the money to pay people exclusively. Right. And I'm not going to say, hey, if you work for this company, I'm not going to book you. that's taking food off their table,
Yep.
and it's also making me look like a weasel.
Right. And pushing the wrestling business back, because that's how that used to be.
Right.
That's how all the other promoters, they never wanted you to work for anybody else. So, all right, well, seeing that you brought that up, I'm going to go to Damon Farrah's last question. Will you be selling 2022 season tickets? If so, yes, please, and thank you.
We will be. I'm putting together all the pricing for it, and we'll be announcing them at the November show.
Excellent.
And I'm also actually, for the first time, I believe, I'm actually designing gift certificates. So
cool.
families can buy gift certificates for friends, or if you have someone that you know that comes to every show, maybe you reach out to me and you get a gift certificate to buy them 3 shows.
Yeah.
It'll be for our second row or general admission. Our front row we would do the gift certificates for. Those we would do the annual pass, like Damon.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you, Damon. All right, Dave Fortier's got another couple questions. What would you say are the biggest challenges as a promoter? I know you've answered this before on here, but if you can give a quick one.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest challenge is just getting people to respond. When you reach out to them to try and book them and get in touch with them, is to get them to respond to you. I feel like I'm pestering them if I have to measure them 3 or 4 times. So usually if I don't get a response after the second request, I just let it go and
move on.
I'll reach out at another time. But
Right.
that for me is the biggest thing. And also making sure that everything just goes seamlessly on show night. For me, I'm a perfectionist. I need everything out in front of the fans to be presentable and professional.
Right.
So I think that those are the 2 biggest things that I find.
All right, we're going to go back to the fan questions because I think right now we need, seeing that where we're at in this conversation, there was some problems at your last show. I'm not going to sit there and say names or anything like that, but there was some problems. I mean, people, now I don't know, you will know this. People either bringing booze outside, bringing booze in, acting like children, and they're adults. I don't know.
Well, I mean, we were having both people bringing alcohol in, bringing in and drinking in the parking lot. The Elks policy is strictly no drinking in the parking lot unless you're in the designated area out back where the gazebo is. And that's, I think it's roped off or something. You have to be within that area. But physically in the parked car area, that's where we ran into problems. So much to the point where the Elks actually threatened to shut the show down.
Right.
And I think the biggest thing with the Elks is that, one, it's happened before.
Right.
2, the people were bringing in alcohol and drinking alcohol that the Elks doesn't even sell.
Right.
And there was an issue with people standing in the fire lane. So if people needed to get out of the building, they were blocking that. And it's gotten to the point where we... The problem is that the people who this involves should know better.
Absolutely.
And so that's all I'm going to say. I mean, we've now got a policy in effect where there will be no standing room only. If you're not in a seat, you're not in the building. We're going to have a limit of 200 tickets. Talent will only be allowed on the floor during specific times before the show to sell merchandise at intermission. If they want to come out quickly at the end of the show, we're going to give them about 15 or 20 minutes before all the fans have to be out of the building. And we'll have a security guard at the front watching to make sure nobody brings anything in. And that stinks for people who bring in their Dunkin' Donuts coffees.
Yeah, it does.
They can't bring it in. They either got to bring it back to their car, they got to throw it away. Or someone who has a water going out. I mean, obviously you shouldn't be bringing anything out because, you could get a tequila or a vodka and put it in a water bottle. So we're going to have somebody there. They're also going to be responsible for making sure that the entryway is clear. And then we have someone who's going to be over by the hard camera on the opposite side, right outside of where you are, to keep that area because, you come there to make money for your family and we need to keep that area open so that fans can get in there. Yeah, and I will say they were asked 3 times. You know what I mean? To just give some space. Nope. Like I never once said completely move. I'm like, you got to leave an alleyway. I was contacted that night and the next day that people wanted to come get stuff, but because of how people were acting, they didn't want to come up.
But it's over with, and I appreciate you for now putting, some security there. And it sucks, like you said, for everybody else, for people that should have known better. Again, there's no reason to put anybody on blast. If you were there or if you're around New England independent wrestling, you already know who we're talking about.
Right. So, and I mean, all that boils down to is in this business, really, your brand is your name.
Right.
And, unfortunately, those individuals
could have messed up your brand.
Right. Could have lost me my building.
Exactly. So,
and that would not have gone over well.
No, would have hurt you trying to get other buildings.
Yep. Absolutely.
All right. Dave Forney's got one more question. What is your favorite APW match of all time? Do you have one?
I do. And it was, I forget the third person in the match, but it was actually on my first show. I actually have two, I would tell you. I'm going to tell you both. The first one was Mike Romano or Buddy Romano versus Vern Vicalo, and I forget who the third person in the match was, but it was a triple threat match, and it completely just tore the house down.
Nice.
It might have been
underrated, man.
Might have been Travis Gillette.
Okay.
Might have been one of Travis Gillette's first shows. But more recently, I would say one that's climbed the ranks was this young kid, Landon Hale, who came in and wrestled Owen Brody.
Yes.
And absolutely just ripped the house down.
I remember when he came in.
I've been in touch with Landon. Right. I'm hoping that he's going to be back up this way because anytime you get a talent like that can come in, and even if it's one show or a couple months in a row, you'd be crazy not to bring him in.
Yeah. And first time Buddy Romano's been mentioned here in a while, but very underrated talent, man. Buddy's a good wrestler.
Yep.
All right. Damon Farrer has one more. APW has a ton of momentum right now. Actually, it's more of a statement. APW has a ton of momentum right now, and I love that you bring in loads of new talent to the APW fan base. Keep up the amazing work. Thank you, Damon.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
all right,
great.
A couple more questions I got from you. You sent to me that commented on one of your posts. Chris Nicastro.
Yep.
My question would be, having some prior training myself, how or what should I do to possibly work for APW, whether it be as security, referee, or manager? May I answer this real quick? Show up and help.
That's one thing. But for me, before I let anybody get in between the ropes, I need to hear from, I need to see them.
Right.
Whether it's they were at a training session and they send me a tape, or I can go and see them. So I would say if you can get to, because Next Gen is literally right around the corner from my house. It takes me 15 minutes to drive there. I'm going to actually go by the school tomorrow night, catch some of the last hour of the training with Mike Hollow and the great group of kids that Bud's bringing in or developing over there. So for me, it's being able to reach out to your trainer. For example, a lot of the network people that we brought in, I used to reach out to Brian Fury.
Right.
And now I reach out to Chase, or I reach out to Max, and I always loses my Sean, Scott. His first name always loses. Scott. I'll reach out to either of them, mostly Chase because I have that relationship with Chase. And then now it'll be any students from Next Gen, I will reach out to Bud.
Right.
Or if Bud's not available, I'll reach out to Mike.
Right.
Mike Hollow. And ultimately, them saying that someone is ready, whether it's, okay, they're ready, they can do a battle royal, or they're ready, they can give you a simple 5-minute, 7-minute match to fill a spot. Or they can take bumps if I need them to come in and, take a beating, you know, for example, and show up and help with ring crew and bring black, pants and black shirts so that we can throw you on security.
Right.
That allows you to learn every aspect of the business, from setup to tear down to where you need to be in certain spots, because everybody plays a part. Even though there's a security guard that may not move from his spot all night, he's watching and paying attention to make sure that fans and or talent don't get injured.
Right.
So that would be my biggest thing, is to get back into training and, send me or show me that you want it.
Right.
Because if you don't show me that you want it, then how can I safely and ethically or morally put you into a situation where you could get severely hurt or, God forbid, killed?
Right. Chris, thanks for the question. Hopefully I'll see you at one of the shows and you'll be working. Andy Miller. Would you have a one-night only APW versus chaotic?
You know, I think fans want these dream, like, inner promotional things. And I think it works in some cases. Like, I know Blitzkrieg partnered with a few promotions. Like, I think Limitless was one of the ones they partnered with, or Chikara when Chikara was around. For me, it's tough because if I'm working with promoter A and myself, I'm going to want my champions to win every match. They're going to want their champions to win every match. So I think it, you know, unless you go on a basically, all right, the two performers are going to come to the curtain, we're going to flip a coin. Your team's heads, my team's tails, and that's how you book the whole, basically the outcomes of the matches, or, you know, how it's going to go. It just doesn't make sense to me. I think the level of product that we're doing in the, you know, what my vision is to get back to the family-friendly, old school. Like, I would like to get back to the family-friendly, old school professional wrestling where you get snippets of what happened from show to show. But to really understand what goes on, you actually need to come to my show. And you can't see it everywhere. You know, and I know that's tough with today's day and age and social media because, you know, 5 or 6 fans will be live, showing the show live on their Facebook or Instagram. But, you know, would I be against it? No, but it would have to be the right situation for Atlantic Pro Wrestling, where Atlantic Pro Wrestling doesn't look bad, or the promotion that I work with, Chaotic, Limitless, whoever it may be, LPW, that they don't look bad. I want both promotions to come out looking good to advance their product.
As it should. I mean, you look at AEW and Impact work together, and nothing but it didn't do anything for Impact. Not one thing. I mean, you know, other than it gave Christian Cage went on AEW with the Impact title for a little bit. Well, and Omega did too, actually. But, all right, I didn't have this written down, but it hit me right away about 5 minutes ago. Johnny Vegas had his last match at your last show. I thought that was awesome. I've been watching Johnny wrestle for over 20 years. Can you tell us about that night? I mean, how'd that make you feel to be able to do something like that for nothing but a local legend? Seriously.
And not only that, it allowed me to do something for a friend. I don't know if you know this, but Johnny Vegas and I have known each other for 30 years.
Wow.
He, when I was 18 years old, he was one of the coaches on my Babe Ruth baseball team.
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, obviously, I went and lived my life for a while. He went and lived his life for a while. And then, you know, we when the racetrack in Salem was there and he was doing the you know, he was working over there, I would see him when I'd go in to play cards or whatnot. And then when I got into the wrestling a few years ago, he was one of those people that I reached out to you know, to get advice on how to do certain things. So he said, you know, this is what I would like. I would like it to be against Cetherin or Amato Figueroa. And you know, so I reached out and it happened to be on a show where Bud couldn't be there because he had, you know, I think it was his anniversary or something to that effect. So I reached out to Amato. Wasn't going to wrestle. He was just he was gonna be off that night. And you know, I reached out to him, and he's like, absolutely.
Of course, they're like best friends.
Yeah. So for me, you know, I think you saw the building. The building was crazy. The building was packed.
He made some money too at intermission, man.
I'm sure he did.
A lot of people went over to see him.
I'm sure he did, and it was. I mean, it was a no-brainer for me. If you know, if that's the last time he stepped in the ring, I wanted it to be for APW and against an opponent that he wanted it to be against. You know, I know that he wanted to do stuff other places. You know, kind of like almost like a farewell tour type thing. Didn't work out, but I'm happy that we were able to give it to him, and it went as well as it did. Well, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, the number of people that showed up and the outpouring of support that we saw for him at the end of that match.
The video?
The video, I knew about.
Awesome.
I knew about the video. Amato did that all on his own.
That was
he reached
really
out
cool,
to all those
man.
people. So, you know, we had Ivar and T-Bar or whatever the heck he's going by today, and you know, Brian and all those people that, you know, Johnny at some point in their wrestling careers touched.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, and I'm just talking about the video aside, just the ovation and the way that the building was.
Yep.
It was probably one of the few goosebump moments that I've had in the 3+ years that I've been with APW.
I got to ask you, did you guys not tell Tony S. he wasn't going to be the referee, or did he know when he went out there? All right. Because that was so funny. I was like, if you don't know, that was a great rip.
No, we told
Tony's
him,
a great guy.
You know, because Sonny had reached, Johnny asked, actually, John reached out to me and said, I want to bring my old manager back. I'm like, John, do whatever you want.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't care. I mean,
that was great to see Marshall.
And then he's like, you know, I want to have Sonny. I'm like, all right, we'll send Tony out there. You have a relationship with Tony. You can tell him that he, you know, do this.
Oh, I love it. You're not, get out, he said to him. That was awesome.
So I said, you know what, as long as you are happy with the way that you feel at the end of your match,
right?
You could have brought in 100 people to each literally walk up to the ring and hand you, you know, the gimmicks that you've used over the years to win matches, and it wouldn't have mattered to me.
He had a lot of personal friends that came to see him too.
Yeah,
that was a great show, great card. It was awesome to be there for Johnny Vegas's last match.
Yeah, it was. I actually, I mean, you're there. So there are times when I disappear out back and I stay out back, but a lot of the time I like to go out and stand by the cash register or stand by the front and watch. Yep. Because I like to see how you can hear the fans out back, but you can't see their physical reaction. Right. So for me, that's kind of my way of evaluating that we're doing the right thing.
Yep.
So I was out front for that entire match. So
and you got a rabid fan base. I've said it here many times that you really do. Your fans are awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, people, when we put tickets on sale for the next show, since we came back, so typically we put them out on Monday because the poster comes in like the day after.
Right.
And all the advertisement. But front row sold out. Front row sells out. People buy tickets night of show for the next month.
Nice.
So before I leave at the end of the night, I already know that my thing is saying reserve second row and general admission, front row sold out.
That's awesome.
Yeah. We've been lucky, and we got a few changes logistically so that we don't lose the building, and have to kind of crack down on some new policies, but
you have to.
Yeah, I mean, because ultimately, if someone hurts themselves on their way home, it comes back on the Elks.
That's right.
The Elks is then going to come back on me because I'm the one who was holding the event.
Yep.
I mean, I'm to the point. I'd be 100% honest with you. I'll close the bar before, or I'll let them I'll make a deal with them. Just sell soda and water.
No, I hear you. If
no
that's
alcohol.
what you have to do.
That's what I have to do to save my building and to save my product and my brand. Yeah, that's what I'll do.
I like to have a few beers and a few drinks, but if you did that, I'd be fine with that too because you have to take care of you and you're in your business.
Right.
And I think most of your fans would be okay with it. They'd be like, all right, so I can't drink a beer for a couple hours if you had to go that route.
Right.
All right. Big news coming out of Ring of Honor. Releasing all their talent.
Yep.
And going on hiatus. Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, I mean, the press release that I read, and it came as a shock. I mean, we have...
Me too.
We have group chats with, the people like the APW originals and the guys that we're friends with that may no longer be wrestling. And,
but that have worked for like Brian Johnson maybe even too? He's like great.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually been in touch with Brian.
He's good.
Yeah, I love Brian. I've been in touch with Quinn McKay previously, she does
like
a lot
her
of the
too.
announcing
She's
stuff.
great.
And obviously, my friendship with Brian Malone.
Yes.
So I don't know much about the details of how it was communicated to them, other than they knew before the press release came out, and they're being told that the same thing. The press release right now, Ring of Honor is going to. Ring of Honor is going to reevaluate through March.
Yeah.
And then in April, they're planning to come back with their pay-per-view in April.
Okay.
I don't know if that means they're going to re-sign people to contracts, if they're going to go more, for lack of a better term, super indie, where everybody is on a per appearance.
Right.
I don't know what that means for my friends that I know that work there, like Brian and and Rayo Cesar, who still does our posters.
Yep.
And Dante Calabrio, all those guys that have come in and worked for us.
Right.
What that holds for them.
Yeah.
but it also allows them to do more stuff in the meantime.
Right.
You know, and it's tough. It sucks.
Yeah.
And I think it's specifically, it's even more frustrating or tough because Ring of Honor is owned by a very large broadcasting company in Sinclair.
Yeah.
And whether it's Sinclair just doesn't want to be in the wrestling business or they are going to put funds in another direction.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I don't work for them.
Yeah.
I don't know. I hope Ring of Honor comes back because Ring of Honor has created some of the biggest stars in professional wrestling history.
You look at wrestling right now. Most of those stars came through Ring of Honor.
Exactly.
Most of them.
No, I am 100% agree with you. And that for me is you know, it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Definitely.
Whether or not they come back. Because there are rumors that their media library is up for sale.
Yeah. Now, why would you sell the library?
Right.
You know, that's what kind of threw me off to say that I don't think they're coming back. But
yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's 100% true.
Right.
But there's rumors out there that like the next day AEW would sign like all these guys.
Right.
But there really hasn't been any official announcement from. I don't know if they have to wait until after the contracts all expire at the end of December. It's, you know, but you can see if you're on Twitter and you go through the Twitter feed, all these guys that were under contract, like long-term deals.
Right.
Vinny's taking bookings places where he was once Ring of Honor exclusive. He really couldn't work.
Yeah.
Taven says he's taking bookings. Bennett, Maria Canales,
Brian Malonis.
They're all now looking for other opportunities. So, I mean, I hope Ring of Honor comes back.
Yeah, me too.
But we'll have to wait and see.
Right. I had actually hit Brian Malonis up about 5 or 6 weeks ago, asked him if he could do the show, and he was like, I'm under contract. I really can't, And it sucked. You know what I mean? And I think it still sucks that he's not signed to them, but I'm going to wait a little while, and I'll hit him up down the line. I mean, Brian getting signed to Ring of Honor, then got his second contract. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And like you said, I was blown away. I couldn't believe I came out of nowhere.
Yeah,
Really?
when like I said, when it came into the chat, someone sent in a screenshot. I was like, that's kind of out of nowhere and kind of, yeah, I mean, weird.
Yeah.
I mean, but you know, maybe it is that they have to reevaluate,
Right?
Because you know, you see all these guys that worked for Ring of Honor. The Ring of Honor took care of them through the time when they weren't doing shows.
Right.
So, you know, maybe it is strictly financial and they have to reevaluate what they need to put into it. Or maybe it's that Sinclair just wants to get out of wrestling.
Right.
I mean, you don't know.
Only the future will let us know.
Exactly.
All right. How about I was going to talk about Charlotte Flair next, but I'd much rather talk about NXT 2.0. Have you been watching the product at all?
I have.
Okay.
I've actually been watching NXT more since the rebranding than I did previously.
Okay. That's my favorite show. NXT is my favorite wrestling show to watch. SmackDown is the most popular out of all the shows.
Right.
They do the best ratings, but
well, that's because they're on a powerhouse network.
yeah. But what do you think about Braun Breaker?
I love him.
Rick Steiner's kid.
Yeah, Rick Steiner's kid, but sounds like Scott Steiner.
Big time. But I love it. I see him. He was doing the bark like his dad last week. Kid's good.
No, he is.
He's green.
He is. I think that, eventually he'll, whether or not they'll give him a title reign or whatnot in NXT is yet to be seen. But I do know that on the European tour that him and Tommaso are on that, I think, a little tour of the UK, and that Sami Zayn, so the three of them are going to be in like triple threat matches where Tommaso's defending the NXT title. Right. At least that was rumored through the, that I was seeing out online. I really like the Diamond, the Diamond Mine, led by Roderick Strong, and that group. I really like them, but for me, the person who's been stealing NXT is Carmelo Hayes.
Yes.
I honestly thought they were going to send him and I think it's Trick Williams.
Trick Williams, yeah.
I thought they were going to make them a tag team and more or less he was going to cash his title shot in.
Right, that's what I thought too.
But I think that with, obviously with what the heck is Hit Row being drafted to SmackDown,
right?
They needed to do something, and I think that I can't think of his name, Escobar. I think that he's probably going to elevate past the cruiserweight.
Right.
I think he's going to be in contention.
He's really good.
Yeah, I think him and Tommaso should have some sort of thing going on. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's much brighter. I like what they did. It actually looks like an arena now.
Yep.
Maybe it probably only fits like 300 people, whatever it is. But if they're doing it right at the Performance Center and they took one section of that giant warehouse and turned it into a 300, 400, 500 person arena, I mean, talk about cost cutting and allows you to still do a weekly TV product.
Right. And Carmelo Hayes is killing it down there. I was blown away. If you notice too, all three of his matches he took on giants.
Yep.
The giant killer. Yeah. That was a nice surprise tonight. Johnny Vegas retired.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there were a lot of people backstage that a lot of people didn't know were there.
Right.
I know that, he was there. It was a surprise for Vegas. I didn't even know it was coming.
Not me.
Till he popped in the building.
Right.
And, we had to he wanted to stay out back. He didn't want to get in any trouble. But it was great to see him. Anybody who stops by and even if they just sit in the back is always welcome, as long as they're not going to be stirring up any crap in the back.
And that actually will bring it back to the Johnny Vegas last night. Brian Fury was there.
Absolutely.
Who I haven't seen in a long time, and it was nice to see him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. When Brian came to the door,
you told me.
I double took because one, he looks like he's in better shape than prior when
not stressed.
Right. It looks like he looked healthier in the face. He looked healthier just physically.
Yeah.
And he sat in the back with his wife, and they watched his good friend wrestle his last match. And again, for me, it's if you're gonna come, be professional,
right?
And
yes,
and sit in a seat or sit in the back, and that to me is okay.
Right.
It's when you cross the line.
And I don't want to blow up your spot, but he went to go pay, and you told him.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
No, exactly. No, that was a great thing that you did. As a matter of fact, it's funny because remember you came and got me and said that Carmelo wanted to talk to me.
Yeah.
And he's like, "How much?" And I'm like, "Your money's no good."
He wanted your pretzel. He's like, he makes those good pretzels.
Yeah, I'm like, your money's no good.
I don't know if you make the pretzels or if you buy them for.
I buy them, but they're the soft pretzels.
All I know is he wanted a Leo pretzel.
And he got a meatball sub too.
That's what I look for, but by the time I'm so crazy at the end of the night.
How about this? I'll make sure I have one ready for you for when I go home. I'll have it wrapped up because I actually did that for somebody just the other night. I can't remember who it was now.
No, that works for me.
But I'll take care of you. All right, so how about let's talk a little about AEW and the signing of, I'd say, the big three. It was Punk and then Adam Cole and Daniel Bryan. I mean, don't you think that had to hurt the WWE a little bit? Letting guys like Daniel Bryan, right, and Adam Cole go. I mean, even though Vince didn't see Adam Cole as a huge superstar.
Right. So, do I think it hurt the WWE? Long term, maybe. Currently, I don't think it did.
Okay.
Because I think that Adam Cole going to the main roster in WWE, they would have had to either put him on SmackDown,
right,
where he would have had to been. Currently, he would have needed to have been a babyface, to compete against Roman Reigns or whatnot. For me, Adam Cole works better as a heel.
Absolutely.
And are you going to put him on? You're giving Big E this big push right now. Are you going to put Adam Cole on Raw and have him be the one that topples Big E?
Right.
For me, Adam Cole, the three. He's the least, and I don't want to sound like I'm disrespecting Adam Cole. To me, I think long term, he was the one that would have been the least hurtful for WWE to lose.
Okay.
If everything else, if everything's equal, Adam Cole leaving WWE hurts less than Daniel Bryan leaving. Because Daniel Bryan was at although Adam Cole was at the top of NXT,
Right.
Adam Cole was at the top. I mean, Daniel Bryan was at the top of WWE
Absolutely.
multiple times.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
and quite arguably is the best in-ring technician that we have going right now.
Yes. Oh, there's no doubt. Out of the three, too, Daniel Bryan is the best wrestler. And that's no knock because they're all great wrestlers.
Absolutely.
But Daniel Bryan is the best, in my opinion, at least.
I agree. And I commend the WWE and Vince if the rumors are true about them trying to make it work so that Daniel Bryan could go to New Japan and work New Japan Wrestling. I think that the thing that handcuffs the WWE is that a lot of the creative stuff comes from Bruce Pritchard, comes from Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
And if they don't like it, you don't get to do it.
Right.
So there's that little bit of creative freedom that maybe AEW gives them. I think if you took Malachi Black and let Aleister Black do that, what he's doing right now in WWE, he would have been a huge star.
No doubt.
Right.
They could have built a lot of stars already in the past couple of years.
Bray Wyatt. Keith Lee.
Bearcat Lee, which I don't hate the name.
No.
I don't hate the name. Because he's as big as a bear.
Right. It's going to be interesting where they go.
Right.
But I think of the three, the one for me that hurts the WWE the most is Daniel Bryan.
Right.
I love CM Punk.
Yep.
I think CM Punk's a good in-ring performer. I think he's a draw.
Yep.
But I think that the polish that was on there for the first few times he came through that curtain is now a little bit duller.
Oh, there's no doubt because I'll tell you right now, the first week, the night he debuted, they did like 1.3 million. Mm-hmm. The following week, it went down to 800,000.
They didn't even do $1 million this past week.
Yeah, so I mean, it's gone down, but it's not Punk's fault.
No.
It's the wrestling business's fault because the wrestling business has lost 8 million fans they used to watch on a regular basis.
Well, you got to figure too. You have professional wrestling for 3 hours on Monday.
Right.
You have professional wrestling for 2 hours on Tuesday.
Yep.
Then you have professional wrestling for 2 hours on Wednesday.
Yep.
Then you have professional wrestling for 2 hours on Thursday.
Which was that?
Impact.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Then you have professional wrestling for 2 hours in the WWE on Friday and 1 hour.
Yeah.
So that's 5 days a week.
A lot of wrestling.
And then you got to figure AEW and Impact do their pay-per-views on Saturdays most of the time.
Yeah.
And then WWE typically does theirs on Sundays. So when it's a pay-per-view week, that's wrestling 7 hours a week.
Yeah.
Pay-per-views, 6 hours.
Right.
I mean, I wasn't there. I don't know whether it's true or not, but I guess a lot of fans left after the AEW Dynamite was over for the dark tapings or whatever took place afterwards.
Oh, in Boston.
Yes, when they were at Arganis.
Right.
So
that's too bad because I mean that's when a lot of local kids are getting shots on the dock. Too bad people are leaving.
Yeah, Little Marine Kathleen was there.
That's awesome.
I mean, there was a bunch of people, locally. Some of them went to New York when they were in New York. For me, the biggest thing I think that we're going to run into is that there's rumors that AEW is going to sign 100 more wrestlers in the next year.
Why?
Exactly.
Where are you going to put them?
Exactly, and that's where my problem is I think at one point Vince realized that I have all these guys signed. I have some guys that I'm paying over $1 million, $2 million, $3 million a year that are currently sitting at home.
Right.
Doing
or
nothing.
Not really worth that money, to be honest with you.
Or not worth that money. And that's why we saw, I mean, again, I know the pandemic had a lot to do with it and cost cutting and whatnot, but it was a smart decision. Whether we agree with some of the names that he let go, it is what it is.
Right.
Vince McMahon, because one thing's going to happen. When people are done with AEW, Tony Khan's either going to throw a crap load of money at them, or Vince is going to throw. If Vince thinks they're worth it, Vince is going to throw. And I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I think people may disagree with me, but I think that MJF, a lot of what he's saying,
he's got to go to the WWE.
Oh, absolutely.
That's who he's wanted to be his whole life growing up. There's no doubt.
I agree. So for me, now Tony Khan's getting himself and Cody Rhodes are getting themselves into a situation where they're going to have a surplus of wrestlers that they're paying that are sitting at home.
Right.
Because
WCW all over again.
Yeah. So you have three hours of wrestling right now. Yeah, maybe they add Well, plus AEW Dark and
Yeah, but that's in the internet. But yeah, so that's that 2 hours, right?
2 hours.
Okay, so 5 hours that you can watch.
So you have 5 hours of wrestling. Where are you going to fit 100+ wrestlers into 5 hours of wrestling?
It's impossible.
You can't have battle royals on every show.
It's impossible.
Right. And you know, your top stars, CM Punk. Daniel Bryan, even though he says he's not going to wrestle on every show.
Right.
But you got CM Punk, you got Aleister Black, you got Cody Rhodes, you got Kenny Omega, you got Chris Jericho, you got Andrade, who I think has been signed and only wrestled like 2 matches.
Unbelievable. He's so talented.
So for me, I think that AEW is going to find themselves in a lot of trouble. They're going to have a lot of disgruntled talent that's sitting back and not being used. You know, again, I might be wrong.
Right.
But again, they have to have more than 5 hours of TV a week.
Well, they said, like, when Vince wanted to make Adam Cole, they say, a manager. And the one thing I will say is, if you put him next to Roman Reigns, you know what I mean? Does he look impressive? No, but he wrestles, he looks impressive.
Right.
But standing next to Roman, and that's what Vince McMahon sees. He sees, Roman, and then you see a guy that looks just like the guy that was working behind the counter at Dunkin' Donuts. No offense, because we all know Adam Cole is talented.
No, absolutely.
But does he look like a wrestler? No, he looks like the guy with long hair behind the Dunkin' Donuts. He really does.
No, I don't disagree with you. And
I like him.
Yeah, I like Adam Cole too. And but I think Vince is getting back into what WWE was like back in the day.
Right.
Those 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", 3%, 7, 10, whatever percent body fat that look physically intimidating, may not be the most technical in ring, but they look the part.
Right. He should have kept Braun Strowman. I don't care what anybody says. A lot of my friends were like, he's not that good. He got over.
Yep.
I mean, and he's huge. And you just let him go. I think it's because he was making $1 million.
Yeah.
And he felt that he wasn't worth $1 million.
Right. And that's the biggest thing is Vince is going to be about the bottom line.
Yeah.
You know, he's a businessman first.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, they make $50 million twice a year, $100 million when they go and do those overseas shows. But it takes money to go there.
Yeah.
Just like, it takes money for me to make a show, to put together a show.
Right.
So I got to make sure that I'm getting money back.
Right.
So that I can pay for what I'm putting out there.
Yeah.
So it's... To do what Vince is doing, you have to be smart.
Right.
And I think that that's where Tony Khan right now is kind of a little off kilter.
Okay.
But we'll have to see. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like AEW.
Right.
It absolutely 100% gives me the feels of the WCW days because their arena is not as lit as the WWE's are.
Right.
Their set is, in comparison to the WWE, their set is,
not that good.
House show WWE. Yeah. I mean, no disrespect, but that's what it is. It's not. It's not Monday Night Raw with that big giant screen, and the graphics. I mean, one of the things a lot of people hate it, but I love those 3D graphics that they have when Roman Reigns comes out and it's
that is pretty cool. It is,
or it's Big
You can't touch them production wise.
No, I mean, when they get those 4K cameras on the floor and. It looks like Roman Reigns is literally like the back is green screen, like he's coming right at you.
It's amazing.
It's incredible. But no, I don't think AEW is going to surpass WWE.
Right.
I think they're going to end up being an alternative to WWE.
And I think Adam Cole made a big mistake going there. I think he would have been better off staying in the WWE and working hard and changing Vince's mind because I think he could have. Because he's that good in the ring. I think if Vince watched him enough and he worked hard enough, he could have changed Vince McMahon's mind because I do think Adam Cole is one of the best wrestlers in the world. Yeah. There's a lot of them, but he's definitely up there.
No, that's a fair assessment. Absolutely.
All right, so listen, I'd like to talk to you about professionalism, maybe, entitlement.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I work for a company Monday through Friday where they instill in us that your name is your brand.
Right.
Your peers look at your name and look what you've done. And for me, that's one of the things that's been drilled home to me in this business is that your name is really all you have. Your name and your word.
Yep.
And you are judged based on your actions, whether those actions are pre-show,
Yep.
out in front, getting ready for a show, or during the show in the back. Are you attentive? Are you paying attention? Are you listening when someone's trying to say, this is what I want to have happen?
Right.
Or are you yupping them to death? Or you got, one ear on them, the other ear over here, but this ear is paying more attention.
Right.
And it all boils down to being able, and then post-show, are you hanging around the venue, getting a beer at the thing, or are you helping us break down so that we can get out of here at night?
It's very important.
No, it is.
Especially if you're just starting out in the wrestling business, guys, to be professional at all times.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with you. And for me, that is what it boils down to is there are people that have worked for us that I found out talked crap about us and the way that things were being handled backstage, whether they were true or not, what they were saying, that I've never brought back.
Good for you.
And I will never bring back.
That's good.
And that's the way I look at it. If I go to another show and they're acting a certain way on that show or out in front of the fans for that company, would I want to bring that to my building and have it? No, that's the way I look at it.
Nice. And it goes with anything. I mean, I work for a school. I work at an elementary school. I go in there, I'm as professional as can be, along with the staff. You know what I mean? But it's so important to be a professional.
Right.
It's so important. So,
okay, Leo, take it home.
All right. Guys, I think we're done. Michael Morse, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Don't forget about the women's tournament. It's going to start November 13th.
No, January.
January.
Yeah, we'll have a qualifying match for November 13th.
Okay, so guys, don't forget, come over and see me at the concessions. Michael, thanks again, man. I appreciate it. Guys, we're out. Peace. Hi, guys. I hope you're enjoying the show. Listen, I could use a little help to grow my YouTube channel. So if you could please like, share, and subscribe. That's most importantly, subscribe. Send me a direct message, and I'll give you a shout out here on the show. My YouTube channel is real simple. It's just my name, Leo Connors. Thanks in advance. Peace.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.